Good morning. A 50% fall in the sale of passenger cars in June and about 80% for the quarter wasn't the only bad news that Automobile Industry Association SIAM had for us yesterday. What is more worrying is that SIAM is saying that it will take at least 3 to 4 years for it to come back to just the peak sales that we saw in 2018. So many in the government and many private forecasters have been talking about a V-shaped recovery, and people have been talking about a minus 5 to 6% growth in FY21 being followed by a 6 to 7% growth in FY22. So essentially that means that in FY22, in absolute numbers, you're looking at the economy being back to where it was, but SIAM is not seeing this happening for the automobile sector. Now essentially what this tells you is that there was a lot of weakness in demand even before the pandemic, and that goes across most sectors, and that is really what SIAM is talking about over here. There is bad news as far as Iran is concerned. Iran has decided to reject India's help in building a critical railway line from the Chabahar port. This is a loss because, as far not only for India's strategic diplomacy, it was also seen as an alternative route to trade with Central Asia, but bypassing Pakistan. Now, ostensibly, the reason for this is for the Iranians rejecting the Indian offer is that India has been delaying matters, and possibly it has because there was always the fear of American sanctions. But what is more important is there's a $400 billion China package for Iran, so that must have tipped the scales. And essentially it tells us an important lesson in strategic relations, which is that it is getting a lot more tricky because your friend is not necessarily your friend's friend. In fact, he can be your friend's enemy. We have to see what transpires later in the day during Reliance's AGM today, but the story is that Google may be investing as much as $4 billion in RGO, and that this is a significant part of the $10 billion investment plan that Google chief Sundar Pichai spoke about yesterday. If this is true, this will be the first time that Facebook and Google have ever partnered or been investors in the same venture. As a result of this and a lot more, Reliance's stock, which is almost at about 2,000 right now, so analysts at Credit Suisse are essentially saying that when you look at the sum of the parts and when you look at where the way Jio is going, they're looking at a fair price of 2,300 rupees for the Reliance stock. The triggers now basically are what happens to the Aramco deal, and expect some kind of announcement on that is expected today. Certainly there'll be more clarity today, and basically the future moves on Reliance being able to onboard Kirana stores and its overall movement in the e-commerce space. Moving on to Corona, infection levels in Kolkata have doubled over the last 15 days, and the fear is that this could get a lot worse in the days and weeks ahead. In fact, with the exception of Bangalore, where infections have risen about fourfold in the last 15 days, most big cities in India like Delhi, Bombay, Chennai, most big cities in India are finding infection levels slowing. And while there is no testing data for Kolkata, we have testing data available for West Bengal, and that tells us that the positivity rate, which is essentially the number of new infections that come up in the number of new tests. So the positivity rate for West Bengal has almost doubled to 14% in just the last fortnight. So the fear is that Kolkata may also be going the same way. In fact, Kolkata is one of the subjects of our second editorial today. What we talk about now is how even now testing levels in India are way too inadequate. We do about I think 9 or under 9, 8.6 persons per 1,000 is what we do in India. This compares really poorly with about 122 in America, 160 in Russia. And despite the low level of testing, we are finding that the positivity levels in India as a whole have gone up from 3% in the beginning of May to around 10% now. And obviously these positivity levels are higher for individual cities. And while there has been a big step up in testing in places like Delhi, for example, so ever since Home Minister Amit Shah stepped in, there has been a fourfold increase in maybe even more in testing levels in Delhi. It used to be about 5 or 6,000 earlier on. Now it's about 25,000. But the problem here is that 60% of the testing that Delhi has done in the last few weeks have been what are called rapid antigen tests, or RAT. Now, data accessed by the Indian Express a couple of days ago showed a very interesting, actually a disturbing trend. What they found was that if you look at the positivity rate for the conventional RT-PCR test, it was about 30.5%, but it was a dramatically lower 6.5% in the case of rat. Now it is physically impossible for the positivity levels in Delhi to differ so dramatically. So essentially what it tells you is, it proves what a lot of people have been saying, that the ability of the rat test to figure out who is COVID positive is nowhere as good as that of an RT-PCR. In fact, our edit gives examples of states like Andhra Pradesh and West Bengal, where it shows that even small increases in testing levels over the last few weeks has led to a dramatic increase in positivity levels here. So essentially what we are saying is that, apart from the fact that we are saying that we need to increase the testing levels and things like that, what we are saying is that if states like West Bengal are not going to give you data on Kolkata or other data for that matter, the ICMR needs to step in and provide such data for researchers, for doctors, for clinicians, for people who are interested in COVID on a 24/7 basis. Our lead editorial makes the plea, yet again, we made it so many times before, our lead editorial makes the plea that the government must rethink its import substitution plans. Ever since the Narendra Modi government first came to power in 2014, import levies in India have grown by about a third on average, and when you weight it by the imports that are taking place, the hike is much more. And as we say in our editorial, import substitution is a 70-year-old policy in India, and it's a policy of spectacular failure. This is not a matter of the BJP being able to implement a policy better than the Congress did. Import substitution is just a bad policy. In fact, to give you some context, if you look at the last 3 decades, essentially since the time that India started liberalizing, so if you look at the last 3 decades, India's exports have grown by about 18 times. Now that looks like a lot, but this compares with 40 times in the case of China, and this is a much larger base that China has. So Chinese exports grew 40 times. They grew 110 times for Vietnam. It was a lower 7 times for Indonesia, but in the case of Bangladesh, it grew 23 times. So as a result of this, of India's increase in exports and imports, India's trade deficit used to be about 1.7% of GDP 30 years ago, and this has become 5.5% today. So clearly the import substitution policy has been a complete failure. In the case of China, its surplus used to be 2.4% of GDP 30 years ago, it's about 2.9%. And in the case of Vietnam used to have a 4.6% of GDP deficit in 30 years ago, and it's become, positive today. In fact, Vietnamese exports used to be about 4% of India's exports about 30 years ago, and they're about 82-83% of India's exports right now. So that's a dramatic surge in Vietnamese exports. As we said, import substitution is just a bad policy, and here's to hoping that this time around the government listens to our suggestions. Have a great and safe day ahead. Thank you.